And from Olympia Lanes in Hammond, Indiana, this is the PBA50 South Shore Open presented by Hammer. I'm Phil Brello. With me, Tom Carter, Dick Weber Sportsmanship Award winner in the past, and
back again.
Glad to have you in the booth. And I'll tell you what, interesting stepladder we have here in the South Shore Open.
Two brand new guys in the stepladder. Then one of them in the first match right here. Greg Thomas, a unique swing. Wait till you see this. Going up against Bryan Goebel, 10-time titleist, Hall of Famer. It's going to be a great match. Then on to Bob Learn, Mr. 300. After that, in his first debut PBA50, we got Eugene McCune, hometown favorite. Everybody's going nuts for this guy.
Oh, yeah.
And the hottest hand on the senior PBA tour, Michael Haugen, leading the show.
Yeah, going for back-to-back titles and back-to-back weeks here. On the PBA50 tour, it's awesome to see.
We're going to have a great first match. If you haven't seen Greg Thomas throw a shot, wait till you see this.
It's not about the journey, it's about the result with Greg Thomas. And the result right there, bad. And we've saw a lot more of these 9-pins today this week, Tom, than we saw early in the week here at the South Shore Open.
The back ends in this place are so crisp. When the ball makes the move, it just keeps on driving. It doesn't stop. And the other thing that you're going to see probably as the oil transitions in these matches, you might see a 7-10 or 2 because the oil carries down pretty quick and shots change fast. Greg Thomas in his second PBA 50 event, first show. So he's looking to make a name for himself.
Yeah, great result last week for Greg in his first PBA 50 tour event at the River City Extreme Open.
Greg used to be out on the regular tour for a while. He's been a member since '86 to like 2002, took a break for a while. But he was a full-time member in the 90s. For about 2 years he was out there on the tour. He made a show.
Chris Warren took him out of that show, another great PBA 50 player.
Yeah, he said he finished 5th, lost to Chris Warren. And he thought in his interview that was Chris Warren's last win out on the tour.
Bryan Goebel. Boy, you talk about having to have the intestinal fortitude in match play. He's bowling match play round 2. 5 of his first games, throws 3 of those 230 or higher, and loses the 30 bonus pins in each match.
But on the good side, he still shot 230 and picked up some pins. And now, being on the show, a 10-time titleist, PBA Hall of Famer, you know he's been in this position before. So those 230s don't make any difference in losing those matches. It's all about right now.
Goble looking for the early double. And a very direct line, and that's necessitated by that 45-foot shark pattern that's out this week, especially early on and around.
The pattern, I don't want to call it goofy, but it was a little bit different. Depending on the rounds, we started like the first day, guys got to play literally clear out by the gutter. The next day we couldn't play there. We had to jump in and start around 10 where he's at, and we ended up playing like 5th arrow. The pattern just migrated, and on certain pairs, the back ends just got ungodly tight, and you were moving left, and all of a sudden now you're moving back to the right, kind of like the old days. The oil carried down, and we changed.
So both bowlers clean in their opening attempts. Thomas.
This is one unique swing. I don't know how you get your arm up that high. And these monitors are so low, I thought he was going to hit a couple. But it's just a unique look out in. He almost looks like Brian Novak on the.
Yeah. Novak's got more of an elbow bend, though, where Thomas is straight to the ceiling.
Right. And you would think that would be tiring over 16 games. I mean, he's literally picking that thing up over his head.
Yeah, and with that extra look, thanks to that great producer, Jeff Goodger, you could see when Thomas got to the bottom of that swing, that ball and that hand in such a strong position.
He gets it. Oh, he heard something.
Yeah, I don't blame him for fully walking off at that.
No, wasn't a cell phone this time.
No. Yeah, we heard John Weber make that announcement right before we started.
It's really tough. This is such a great facility, and we've been here for like 24 years. But the concourse is pretty tight, and it's like the what a break there, tripping out a 4-pin. But the concourse is so tight And if anybody really talks, it's easy to hear them, up there on the approach.
Yeah, I mean, it's a low ceiling in here. As you mentioned, it is realistic that Thomas, where they have some of these wooden support beams throughout the center, could hit that with his bowling ball. It's only about 8 feet above the ground. Greg, a pretty tall player at 6'1", 6'2".
Yeah, and extremely long arms, it looks like, because that swing gets up there. Bryan Goble with a unique role. He's kind of what we call a spin release. And we had a brand new player, first PBA event this year, Chris Gibbons, who led the tournament. And his axis has got to be very small because his ball was a spinner. Then we had Harry Sullins up there, and then Bryan Goble. And we had and Ryan Schaefer was up there. So we had guys that threw it obviously alike with that same type of roll, which scored real well. The ball didn't read the front part of the lane. So they got to go through straighter through the front part, and the ball stored more energy on the back end.
Was there any area of the lane this week that was really out of play? Everybody thinks 45 feet, and back in the day watching Shark on the Goebel PBA Tour, it would always force the guys to the inside. It didn't seem like in some cases that was the case this week.
Well, I honestly think here on the PBA50 Tour, even though it's 45 feet, it's more blended. We don't have quite the volume. It's not like the Shark back in the day where 10 and out was definitely out of bounds. We can actually start out on this pattern. And I think some guys are scared of, they see 45 feet, but they don't think about how much volume's out there.
Goble down by 11.
But he's just going up and at him. He's not really giving the ball away. And actually, Greg Thomas, with that swing that he has, and his revs are kind of unique, but he plays a really pretty tight line. It's not like he's booming the ball,
Now we see Bob Learn walking around. He's been keeping an eye on these guys. He's coming in the next match. What's Bob looking for when these guys throw the ball? Is it just the line, or is it a combination of factors?
Well, he's definitely looking at how the lanes are breaking down on what ball choice that he's going to be making, because with his rev rate, and he throws the ball hard, and that was a key factor this week too. If you threw the ball too hard, you left a lot of 10 pins. The ball just didn't recover on the back end. And then people are going to say, well, it was 45 feet. Well, true, but the volume's light. Next week we're on 44 feet.
A little unusual for Thomas right there. You see the pinfall in that replay? The 6 fell last.
We had some unique pinfall in match play today. I seen Chris Keene, who has a high rev rate, just blasted the pocket and almost leave a 9-10. Then I seen Scott Greiner. It ended up being a 7-9, and the 9 slid forward to the 3-pin spot. I mean, it's just we've seen some weird things.
And you just mentioned the flat 10s that were a bane of many a bowler this week. And Thomas, that ball just didn't look like it was rotating properly.
Well, what happens is, and it's really hard to see with the naked eye, that if they increase their speed just a hair, you're in trouble. The ball just doesn't finish.
So Thomas stays up by 20 with the spare, and he converts.
The balls he used this week were all asymmetrical. He actually used a vertic pearl and a choice. I think he's throwing the choice now. And he's got the pin in the ring finger. Well, a lot of guys have been doing that, which kind of gives it a smoother roll, and the mass to the left side of the thumb, which mellows that ball out a little bit for higher rev rate guys, gets it down the lane. And the vertic pearl is a 6-inch pin, so that means he was really trying to get that ball down the lane. He said he had like a 5 and 5/16-inch axis, which that's pretty much up the back of the ball.
Nothing but left there for Goble.
Well, and the thing you can't do too much is start it up. And this is going to sound crazy, but, you want to keep it on line. If you get slow, it hooks early, but if you get fast, you leave a 10. So the speed control is huge out here on this pattern.
Best thing to do here for Goble, take 2 and try to stay close.
Well, quality player is going to. And anything right there in the middle, because these are fresh lanes, and everybody had their practice time on them, but they're going through transition, and now it's keeping up with the moves.
So Goble down by 32, and it's almost mandatory strike mode for him here. He can still get 237, but Thomas hasn't missed the pocket yet.
Well, the rule of thumb here, as you watch that ball go down, he went right over 10 down lane, the marker down lane, right basically over the top of it. The rule of 31 says that our break point should be around 14. But that hasn't been the case on this pattern. As in qualifying, it was in the later games when you were playing deeper, around 22, 23 at the arrows. You only wanted to get it out to like 12, 13 down lane.
Wrap 10. And the disappointment on Thomas's face as he strolls back to the ball return.
Well, so many of the guys today threw absolute quality shots, and you're thinking, there's no way that cannot strike. Looks like it's making the turn. That looks like it's going to be high flush. And that 6 just wraps around the 10. That's what in this game will make you want to pull out your hair. You're like, which look at Greg.
I was going to say.
Greg lost all of his hair.
Ooh, and a little hop step in the foul line for Thomas.
Like most centers with synthetic approaches, when you get out of the track slide area, they can become, there's really no gray area. Either they tend to be really slick or very sticky over there.
31 pins the advantage for Thomas.
But Bryan's got to strike up so he can close some of the gap. We talked about getting the ball into the swing early. As soon as he starts, that ball goes down and into the swing.
And that 10 went late. Is that something that it's going to require a move for Thomas now to stay get 10 down?
I don't think he's going to move. He got that out to 8 down lane, and he's like, if that doesn't strike, I don't know what I'm going to do.
Okay.
The biggest thing out here I see the guys do, they try to keep this thing going. When you're on a strike mode, when something happens, they've been changing balls, actually getting to a different surface.
Goble still the 237 out there. Thomas pacing 218.
That he didn't like at all, I don't think, because he just got that into the floor. Didn't really get through it. And the ball down lane just doesn't make the turn.
There's a reason why 10 pins get left. We get a lot of new players to the sport, and they kind of think to themselves, oh, it's just a bad break. But there's reasons why these corners are standing.
Yeah, when the ball comes in just a hair light, it hits more on top of the 3-pin, which hits the left side of the 6-pin and sends it straight to the right around the 10. But then, you'll bowl in some houses where you get that half pocket hit, and it carries it a little bit better. This place, this pattern in this house, again, I think is very speed sensitive, and the 10 pins are brutal. It can almost take the wind out of your sails when you think you're bowling really good and you're hitting the pocket. You're like, what can I do? Is either faster, slower, a little bit more loft, a little less loft, change surface. Can't change surface on the ball when they're bowling. So my only other option is change balls. But you only got 10 frames out here.
And Goble's going to need the last 5 to get to 217. There's one of them.
The difference between Greg and Bryan right now, Greg's giving it away a little bit and letting it turn into the pocket, and it really looks like Bryan's basically just trying to jam it in there.
Well, Thomas, if he stays clean, goes Dutch the rest of the way, that's 218 on the board. But that's not a thought in his mind right now, I'm sure.
And a lot of these guys are using a lot of surface. It might not look like it, but they've surfaced their balls, and the problem we have with that, the ball hooks a little early, starts reading the lane too soon, then slows down a little bit too fast. Even though it's hitting the pocket, it's not driving through.
Another wrap 10 on that lane. Now is the time for a change, and he's got to finish the 10th on that lane.
Right.
I mean, if you got to come up and be clutch and you've got back-to-back wrap 10s, that's got to weigh on your brain.
Well, you obviously got to make a move. I mean, he was inside of target down lane. He is like 11-12. Not ready to be in there yet. And when we get to that match, when Eugene McCune comes up, you're going to see him attacking the lane totally different than everybody else, and with a different kind of a ball.
So Thomas still keeps the lead at 31, and the mind is pondering what to do. But he had a great shot on this lane. He kicked the 10 out last time on this lane.
At the rate he's going to shoot 218. If Goble goes all the way up, it's 217. So we're at a point where anything could happen right here. It all depends on good counts now. See a lot of guys doing this now. It's a 6-step approach. It just keeps their wow. He got the break. A little late. Keeps her feet a little bit slower.
That even makes Bob Learn walk away.
Yeah. Well, Bob's got such a high rev rate and speed. You know, he's really got to be thinking about where he wants to play this, because he gets it to the dry too quick with his rev rate. It's just going to check up way too soon.
Must strike for Goble. No other way to put it. And the solid 9 makes another appearance.
There's not much you can do when the breaks aren't going your way. You know, that time he threw it great, and the ball just finished. He made a move. It might have been a slight one to get out the 10, but now it leaves a solid 9. Bryan's got probably one of the most methodical approaches on the PBA50 tour.
Just watch that ball.
It was a little high,
yep.
Granted, but still, when you're leaving 10 pins, you want to get up a little higher. You're thinking, I'm hitting it too light, so I got to get up in the pocket somehow.
And it's just the equipment these players are using, right?
These balls are so strong. It's and they're dynamite in your hand, you know, compared to what we used to have. And this pair is a little tricky, I think. It was real tricky for me because I shot. I did make the cashes round, which is good, and I got the bowl and just missed the next round by 8 pins. But that pair there in qualifying, I go like 220, 230. I hit that pair and shoot 149 with 5 splits, all on lane 11.
Wow.
Ended up, when I finally marked on lane 11, I was 13 boards difference on that pair.
So Goble maxing out at 197.
Greg, all he has to do is stay behind the foul line and throw it. Isn't it amazing how, you know, they all strike when you don't need them to strike?
Well, you know, the subconscious is a murderous thing sometimes when it comes to a bowler on the approach.
Well, you know, now he's out of it. His swing's a little bit more relaxed. The ball's rolling better. You know, when you're in the moment, you're wanting to strike and you're adding a little bit of juice to it. You think you're doing the right thing. And anybody that's been out here long enough and has ever won, look at that, will tell you that staying relaxed and staying in the moment is what you got to do. And it's hard to do. You want to win.
Well, I'll tell you what, for Goble, that's not a bad bounce back for him here in 2018 because it's been rough. He missed the cut last week in Monticello.
You don't see that happen very often, especially Hall of Fame players missing the cut.
And Greg Thomas is going to move on.
And he figures out how to strike because he's not trying to strike. It's amazing. Sometimes you can try too hard, and you don't think you are, but you are.
Thomas, 20th last week at the River City Extreme Open. Hit the regional between there and here in Arlington Heights at Beverly Lanes, and he finished in 4th. So a solid start to the PBA50 career.
Well,
this guy.
And that was a tough – and that was on the same pattern as this, but it's a much older surface. And they were tough. It took minus to make the cut there.
So Greg Thomas, he'll get to the back of the approach. He'll get to watch Bob Learn Jr. throw his practice balls on this championship pair, and our second step-ladder match with Greg Thomas and Bob Learn Jr. coming up shortly. And Tom Carter,
we're back,
is back in the booth with me, Phil Brylow. And Tom, you had a chance to talk to Bob Learn before this match. Obviously 20 shots at a minimum thrown on these lanes each before he gets back on. What did he see out there?
Left lane hooking a lot more. I think he's going to arc it a little bit more. He's going to be inside 15 to 8. Just look at that. Got a little bit of a trip. But the left lane is tricky. He had a good look on the right lane. It's just a matter of if it changes. I like what John said. It's his second top 5 finish this week.
That's true.
Have we had 2 tournaments in a week?
Pretty darn close. Well, we finished up in Friday in Monticello, and now we're finishing on a Thursday here in Hammond with the PBA50 South Shore Open.
And next week we're in Kokomo.
Yes, indeed.
That's a brand new stop.
New stop for the PBA50 Tour. They've hosted many a regional there. And there's been some historic wins in that regional, in that building, including Diana Zavjalova a couple of years ago. One of only 8 women to win on the PBA Regional Tour. Greg Thomas.
He is still firing it right up the track, right where he played the first game. I thought maybe he might be moving in a little bit, opening up the lane, because he definitely can hook it if he needs to.
You know, if someone's new to the sport and they see that high backswing for Greg, they're going to think, oh, the guy just worries about throwing it hard. But that's not the case. There's a lot of touch involved in there.
There has to be at the bottom of the swing, because it's got to come down in time. And he's not. If you watch him, he's not jerking through it. He just swings through the bottom of his swing through the ball, and he gets back behind it. Even though he opens so up in the top of the swing, there's that hook on that lane, which is he didn't get to throw any shots. He's already bowled on it, but he opens up a ton at the peak of his swing, but he gets back behind it at the bottom of the swing, and that's the key. No matter what you do, repeat it. You know, but the key out here on tour is definitely if you can get behind the ball, get up the back of the swing, you're in a much better position.
And the bad break for Thomas on that shot as the headpin came screaming across. I believe it was a 2-pin and took out the 6, so the baby split left for the conversion.
Not the easiest spare in the world, but he made it look pretty easy.
And the tough part this week, that excess oil out to the right side on the pattern, 45 feet in length.
Right. It's amazing. It's 45 feet. And you can give the ball away shooting that spare, the 310 and a 3.6 910, and the ball still recovers because the back ends are pretty doggone crisp. Bob throwing a nasty rumor that he's got 1,000 on. Doesn't look like it. Looks like it's kind of lane shine, but there's still 1,000 on it. And he's got another one up there. He drilled 2 of them exactly the same, just in case one kind of soaks up a little bit too quick. He has a fresh one to go to.
So for viewers that are new to flow bowling and new to these PBA events, and you talk about 1,000 in surface, that type of thing, just a quick little rundown. Why would bowlers worry about a surface of the bowling ball? Because they all look the same to the casual player.
Well, surface, 70% of ball reaction is ball surface to lane surface. And those 2 frictions have to match up at the right time so that the ball actually makes a move on the back end. And so if we use, say 360, which is a pretty gritty surface, you're going to get the ball to hook earlier. Or if you use a 4,000 surface, you're creating the ball to go longer. So the key here is to get the right surface on the ball. That's what the practice rounds are for, so that we can change the surface on the ball so we can match up to the shot that we're playing on.
And Bob's done that well for his first 3 shots because all 3 were pretty darn good strikes.
A lot of people, they come solid 9. He's right on that right lane, and I'm sure, because we just talked about it, he's going to be making a move to the left, kind of open up the lane a little bit, especially if he's watching what Bob's doing. But so many people come into a pro shop and they buy a ball because it has shelf appeal. It looks great. And then it doesn't either hook as much as they want or do what they want, and they're scared to change the surface because of the way it looks. I want it to look that way. And in today's game, surface preparation is huge. I don't care if it's for league or if it's for a tournament or out here on the PBA. You got to have the right surface.
Thomas, 4 wins on the PBA Regional Tour in his career. Last win back in Seattle, Washington, 2001.
Well, that makes sense. He lived in Idaho for a while, so he was out there in that western region.
His father, for many years, owned a bowling center in Old Town, Idaho. And unfortunately, when Greg's father passed a few years ago, they had to sell that center. Now Greg living in Irmo, South Carolina, helping run a bowling center with his wife, Jane. Jane, I know she's watching right now. And the ball change.
That was the ball change. He's going to try to stay in the same spot, it looks like, so he can play both lanes the same. Because he got that farther right down lane. That was more like 6-7 down lane.
How tight is Learn's thumb hole when he's got to jam it in there like that?
Not near as tight as that ring finger is. He just buries that thing. He moved in on the right lane. He had to move in probably after Greg left that solid 9 again. It's like, and that's what the players do out here. You know, they watch other players, and if their ball's making a move, they don't need to throw a shot to find out that it's hooking, because if the guy's throwing, look at how he digs that ring finger in. I mean, that baby's buried. No wonder he gets so much on it.
I'd be afraid I'd take my wrist with it.
They made that spare look pretty easy.
Well, not much in the way of a chop in play there. We've saw quite a few buckets and 2-5 combinations chopped this week.
Well, it kind of gets in your head. We got a lot of oil, you know, so I got to play it a little tighter. But then when the ball gets down there, it hooks by it.
So learn inserts and does he use a thumb insert as well?
Yep.
With the fingers?
Yeah. I mentioned it last week. He's got the little knee kick, boom, and there he goes. It's a timing thing, and he takes off. Oh, that looked slow.
Just overthinking on the approach? He doesn't normally take a lot of time, though.
No. I just think that he knows that that lane is hooking. We talked about it. It transitions a lot quick. Whoa, almost bounced that out. I think he tried to outthink himself a little bit and just said, well, maybe I'll move an extra board.
So that brings the match right back to Thomas.
You know, and it happens to a lot of guys. He's going to make a ball change. They go, well, I'm going to move left. But then I'm going to throw it slower. So both of those moves kind of like cancel each other out.
Thomas goes with that purple ball. He switches on the right lane as well.
We out here we call it the shim. A lot of viewers know what that is. It's just right where that oil line's at, and he's trying to stay right next to it the best he can. So he goes to a little bit weaker ball that can follow that shim and stay right there. That gives him a little bit of hold. So if he misses left at his target, it doesn't go high. The ball just kind of sits there.
How big is that shim compared to what people see in league?
Out here,
yeah,
not big at all. This pattern is like 2.6 to 1, and in league you're probably more like 15 to 1.
And that was a high hard one there by Thomas, and takes the lead in the match.
He's definitely not giving up the pocket a whole lot. He's going to keep the ball on line.
Now, what is this ball going to do different for Bob?
Well, this is an asymmetrical ball, pin up, where he was throwing a symmetrical ball. So two things can happen here. This one's pin up where the other one's pinning the ring finger. This one's going to go longer down lane before it turns, but being asymmetrical for him, it's going to kind of read up a little sooner. So I think he's trying to smooth out the transition on the back end so the ball doesn't change its direction as hard. For Bob, symmetrical balls, when they get to the dry, they want to change direction pretty hard. It's kind of like they got blinkers on them.
So he's looking for the gradual look instead of the hockey stick look.
Well, yeah, if you can, keep your boards that you're crossing to a minimum, it's a little bit better off. I mean, it's nice to watch a big hook, but sometimes it doesn't pay the bills.
All right there, the bounce back double for Learn after the open. That's going to keep him within 8 pins, but Thomas can get it back to 18 with another strike.
A much better look. The ball didn't change direction like the other one did. The other one was changing direction so hard that he was having to force it to the right. If you look at what Greg's throwing, he's got a pin above the bridge, another layout that gets down the lane, goes long.
Ooh, that was a little over the toes. And now
yeah, he lost his balance there. Obviously didn't execute that shot as well as he wanted to. And anytime you get your shoulders that far forward at the point of release like that, where you lose your balance, the balls normally go left.
Is that a push-away issue? Did he hold it a little long? Or?
Well, with the timing delay that he has with the ball being so high above his head, I think that he has to pull down from the peak of his swing, and if he pulls too hard, then he's not in time at the line.
Yeah, that's a lot of ground
because
to cover. Wow.
There's that out of bounds we were kind of talking about. You don't want to really get out there too far.
And he switched back to the first ball he was throwing today. He switched back to that red and silver ball, and it never wrinkled.
No, and if you watch that replay, he pulled down on that one hard too and threw it faster. He wanted to keep it on line, but then he got it into a little bit of oil to the right and no shot. So he kind of handed the match right back to Bob.
That's a bow on it for Bob right there. That's not just a gift. Quick and a huge break to take the 10 down.
Well, now when you have a frame open like that and kind of a misjudgment and calculation, you're going to be thinking about it. And he got that ball farther to the right. He's trying to stay right. And like I said earlier, in our qualifying, outside where he's playing, there was a ton of hook there. But as the week went on, that spot got tighter and tighter and tighter, and you couldn't play out there. Which rightly so, on 45 feet, you shouldn't really be playing the gutter. You only got 15 feet of transition. You know, lane 60 feet long, you're hoping that it can bounce back to the pocket in that last 15 feet. That's why we always play the gutter on the shorter patterns. We got more room. This is a key shot here for Bob. He digs. Look at that. He's
but the release is relaxed. That's the most amazing part to me.
Right. If you watch his hand, it's pretty much open when he lets go of it. Boom. Oh, he grabbed on it. As soon as I say he's going to open, yeah. He had I feel like Nelson Burton. I was a black cat there. He just made a fist on that as he came through it.
And that didn't let the ball rotate at all.
No. He just, like he hit up on it and the ball just stopped. That's totally uncharacteristic of. One thing Bob does, he's, and knock on wood, he's a good spare shooter. Hope I don't jinx anybody. And he throws it 100.
Well, leaves him up by 4 pins. He can't get shut out by Thomas before he gets an attempt in the 10th frame, as long as he strikes here in the 9th. Maximum score for Learn, 230. Maximum score for Thomas, 226.
Well, he's still in the driver's seat. He just, the left lane's tricky. This is the one you can't do something stupid on. Oh.
He wasn't sure.
He wasn't sure about that at all. I think he moved a little deeper. He hit up on it, and he's looking at it like that wasn't even close.
Take the extra look at that last shot by Learn. And a little more loft in the front part of the lane, too, it seemed like.
Well, we talked about what he's been working on last week, and the key for him is keeping that back trail leg down. And when he pops up at the foul line and that back leg comes up too much, the ball doesn't stay on line. It goes everywhere. Uh-oh. Now this is trouble.
And it looked a little right from my amateur eyes.
He got it to 8 down lane. I mean, he's been trying to stay, it looks like, a little bit more on top of the marker down lane.
So this takes the maximum down to 215 with the conversion.
He picks up the spare, but, you know, all these guys, and somebody's got to explain it to me, they throw it so hard sometimes they throw themselves off balance, you know. And I understand having a lot of power to knock down 10 pins, but you're knocking down one. You're not going to break it in half. Just knock it over. And I think sometimes when you try to throw it so hard, they keep it on line, you pull shots, or it gets off your hand too quick and you push it to the right, you know. Much better shot as far as balance at the line, but he got that left off his hand.
And
I think he threw, it almost looked like he threw in the flag there. He just waved in like.
Yeah, the light at the end of the tunnel is starting to dim greatly.
See, on that shot there, he was left of the marker down lane. So you definitely don't want to do that on the hooking lane.
203 now, the max. And that's just going to require a mark for Bob Learn to advance into the semifinal.
What'd you say? Just a mark?
Just a mark.
Makes it sound so simple.
That's what you guys are out here trying to get paid to do, getting just that mark when you need it.
Yeah, well, you know, you look up there and go, all I have to do is mark. Any other situation in the world, that's easy.
Left again. That
No,
was
he
frustration.
He just fired that at the head pin.
So 203 on the board.
For Greg Thomas, max score 230 for Bob Learn. But he doesn't need all of them.
Learn just needs 14 pins. And that'll be enough.
Well, his last shot on this lane wasn't as quality as he wanted it. He hit up on it, and it just wasn't a good release.
Watch the hand this time coming through.
Yeah,
much more relaxed.
Whoa. He didn't like that at all. He's rushing. He's got to calm down.
He's definitely taking his time to the back of the approach, and maybe like you just said, maybe he's helping to refocus himself.
Yeah, he's thinking because he thought that was through the face.
The repose.
See what I say about throwing it hard? You throw yourself off balance. Well, that's all he needed.
4's a win. Contact the head pin, and you got to get 4.
Try to stay as balanced as you can on every shot that you make.
Stacy learning back there right now. I think that spare shot just took a year off her life.
Look at this. See?
Yep.
High hard one down the middle. There you go.
Bob Learn advancing to the semifinal. Eugene McCune ready to take to the lanes. PBA50 South Shore Open presented by Hammer. We'll roll on after bowler practice.
And Eugene McCune, the local favorites, coming on along with Mike. Give him a nice send off to start the match.
And Bob Learn, through one opponent, needs to get through 2 more to get his 4th PBA 50 Tour title to go with his 5 Goebel PBA Tour titles.
And one of those titles was a major, the U.S. Open.
1999. And all right, so your Bob Learn, you got to wait not just for one player to get practice, but 2 before the semifinal match. What did you do to keep himself occupied down there, Tom?
Same thing we were talking about. He's trying to, stay slow, keep that back leg down. He made a comment. He goes, "It feels like I'm going so slow." I go, "Yeah, but at least you're solid and you're making good shots." And every shot just, in his practice, just was 10 back. But he got amped up. He even said he got amped up, and he got on his toes. His first step was quick, and he starts losing balance.
So Learn will start the match once we get the score boards ready to go. See one of the members, the great staff here at Olympia Lanes, and I'll tell you what, these staffers go out of their way for you guys when you're on the lanes to make sure deadwood clears are done properly, and anything you guys need, pitchers of water, so you guys
tons of water,
thirst, yeah.
The whole facility here, and they go out of their way for us. As far as the motorhomes out there for what they provide for us, and they give us free water and electricity. It's we're here for basically a week. They take care of us. Every morning we have coffee and donuts and stuff in the paddock. Like I said, they give us ice water. It's just it's a joy to come here. You don't get that every place you go, which we should, but we don't.
And we've got our scoreboard issued set, and Bob Learn kicking things off in our semifinal match against Eugene McCune.
Back leg down, solid.
That was the most solid 7-10 I've seen all week.
and we said earlier when we started that you could see some of these, and they just pop up out of nowhere. And he got that ball a little right down lane. Granted, he got it out to 4 or 5, so he probably lost a little bit of energy. But you know, it is what it is, but you don't think you're going to leave a 7-10 on that.
Well, if you're going to open early.
And now we got our new player on the tour, just turned 50 in June.
Yeah, a non-member currently. He dropped his card back in 2016, and now bowling this event as a guest with Eugene McCune.
You're going to see Eugene. One, he throws it harder, and he's got a boatload of revs on it, and he's just hitting the living devil out of it.
I think just sometimes back, especially in later part of the tour, especially when the Cheetah Championship in 2011 in Las Vegas during the World Series of Bowling, he got kind of pigeonholed to that, oh, you can only throw it hard off the outside. That's never been the case with Eugene. He's had a great touch from all areas of the lane over a bunch of years. You don't win almost $1 million on tour by just being a gutter player.
No. But he can throw it on the gutter. And the angles he's playing is much deeper. He's crossing like 23, 24 at the arrows and taking it to the marker down lane.
Is that more to avoid the wear and tear in the lanes that happened before Eugene got on, or is that just where he's comfortable right now?
That's where he's comfortable, and that's where he played them basically all week. I said he would play. It was hitting about 23. I take that back. He hit like fourth arrow. Wasn't quite that deep.
That rolled up early on Bob, and there's the counteraction. All of a sudden, up blower 710, you try to make it fit.
Now he's going to go back. I think he thinks he's throwing it slow. He's having a little issues with his hand. I asked him about that one shot. It looked like he grabbed it. His hand was swelling up, and then he took out a bunch of tape. Then he basically lost it at the bottom, and he was trying to save it.
To avoid the back-to-back opens. Nothing out of the pit. And 17 in the second for Learn, and a big deficit early.
Yeah, and he moved in. If he's going to move in, he needs to give it some room.
It's amazing how long that ball goes past the end of the pattern. Usually you think of 45-foot pattern. Sometimes you hear the player going, I want it to roll up in the oil. Not the case here on this shot.
Well, it's not even acting like 45 feet. No. It looks more like 39 feet, you know. He is, I hate to say it, but it looks like he's lost at this point. The ball's making a much bigger move than he's expecting it to make. He tightened his lineup down lane, but I think he needs to make everything like a four-board move farther left and just play inside that marker down lane.
See Bob's wife Stacy in back there, and just every one of these shots that don't strike for Bob takes a little piece of her soul out.
Well, I think she lives on every shot that he makes, you know.
First spare of the game.
Eugene just drilled this ball. Something he said he normally wouldn't drill. He drilled the Sherlock. Spin down, hold down. And obviously it's been working quite miraculously, because once he got he's been doing that for a day and a half now.
And I'm sure being close to home and sleeping in your own bed helps out as the week goes on as well.
True. He's very comfortable in here, and like everybody knows him. So to me, he probably feels like it's just a league shot to him. The boy's got a ton of revs, a lot of natural talent. I remember him at one tournament. He was throwing it over the left gutter, and he pulled the grips out of the ball so it wouldn't hook as much, and shot 279. So he was throwing it with no grips, just yanked those out, throwing it over the left gutter. But, you know, as much as he can hook it, he can play up 1-2 as well as anybody I've ever seen with a ton of speed.
Yeah, I remember we were just talking about Kokomo earlier in the Stepladder, and there was a regional event there a couple of years back, and the lanes were hooking, and Eugene was lofting the left gutter and just getting that ball out to no more than about 14 and just letting it face and crush. And he made a great run through that event.
There's another, and he probably threw that 25 mile an hour at that spare, and he just Rambos at him. We have a ball change here. Went to a little bit weaker surface ball, still asymmetrical. He's in around 18 to, there you go, 18 to 9 down lane. Much better transition.
Is that the lane changing on him, or his mindset changing on him when he makes the ball change?
The lane is changed. And those guys coming in throwing their practice shots. You know, he had a great shot over here in practice where on the practice pair, just staying warm. And this has definitely changed a lot as far as what's going on.
I don't know, but somebody just had a good laugh in the crowd, and Bob gave her back. Well, let's see if that loosens him up for this next shot.
Well, that's a big key, is staying loose. You know, not trying to get tense. And throw each shot the same. Now he's back in the game.
Tell you what, that 5-pin devastating into the left side of that rack. And that's going to knock his deficit down by another 10 pins because McCune working on a spare.
Eugene with a much higher setup position. His backswing is not as high as it used to be. Now you see Eugene fall to the right, but he gets the ball off of his hand before he actually falls off the shot. The thing you don't want to be doing is falling off as you're throwing.
Funny, his bio sheet describes himself as very intense for Eugene McCune. I think that's understated a bit for very intense.
Yeah, you're not going to see a lot of smiles out of him.
No. Unless he walks out of here with first place, but because he's currently a non-member, he would not be credited
with a win.
PBA50 title.
Now, this is what we call having area down lane. That was into 12, it looked like from my angle. Down lane, just, well, about 10, 11. And the one before that was farther right. So when you got a spot down lane that's got 3 to 4 boards to hit, you better take home a title.
Learn down 42, gets it down to 32 with that shot in the 6th frame. And there's some people cheering for him now. It's a big hometown crowd he's fighting against here.
Well, you know, he got fooled those first 2 frames because the guys came in and just in those 6, 10 practice shots that they threw, the lanes transitioned again. And if you don't think lanes can change fast in today's game with these high-performance balls, it's not like it used to be where they held up forever. They change, especially when guys are changing the surface on the ball.
And how bad does Bob Warren want those first 3 frames back?
He would love to know what happened to those lanes before he threw those first shots.
Just watch that ball, and it's just a strong roll all the way through the 1, 3, 5, and 9 contact.
Well, the guys that are in the finals here have such a higher rev rate than most of the senior players. And Eugene being probably the youngest and strongest out here right now because, you know, he just turned 50. He doesn't look like he's 50 at all. You know, I need to see a birth certificate. And you watch that ball go through the pins. I mean, it is continuing right off the back end. It's literally going left. It's not deflecting. It's running over pins.
And Eugene McCune's success in the center previously back in 2015 teamed up with Ron Moore to finish in 5th place in the South Shore doubles event that was held that year instead of just the standard PBA50 event. And Learn needs to strike the rest of the way out to have any chance.
Because Eugene is not giving up. See, that shot was farther right down lane. He's got area, and I think he knows it. And your swing gets a little bit looser.
A little more fluid.
It's like swing loop.
247 still out there.
Look
wow.
Oh. he's kind of strutting that out.
He's having a little fun with the crowd now.
And this definitely would be a match if he had those first 2 frames back. This ball doesn't. Look at that ball. It drove dead left of that 9-pin. And it's a good thing that the head pin come back across.
Well, if he strikes here, he may not have a chance to win it in the 10th frame because McCune, obviously, possible 279, can take care of business before Learn can step up.
Inside a target. Oh.
He was begging the whole way.
Yeah.
That was the walkout with the stare back at the rack.
He was hoping it was going to strike, but I think he missed a little bit to the inside.
He posted it.
He posted it, but see, the ball just didn't turn. He didn't hit quite the friction down lane.
And that is going to be
almost
pretty much match over.
Yeah, set match right there.
McCune stays behind the foul line a couple of times. He's in the 2 teens, even with opens.
Bob learned the best he can do is 226. Right now, Eugene going at a 279 pace.
They're having a little friendly discussion before Eugene steps up again. Not sure what that was about.
Well, maybe telling him to throw off and give me a chance in the 10th.
Yeah, 1 mark here for McCune between the 9th and 10th, and it seals the match. Open, a whole nother story. Well, got to keep the composure.
Well, yeah, he thought that was there. That wasn't, when we talk about him posting shots, he wasn't quite as solid on that one as he was on the rest of them. That's kind of a unique swing he has at his spares. He never really kind of follows through. You notice that? He just kind of like cuts that off a little bit quick.
Yeah, a big flip. Watch that hand flip.
Yeah, it just flips and like, okay. And well, that's because he's pulling down so hard to throw it hard to keep it on line. He can bounce pins out of the back. There's no doubt about that. We cleaned out a lot of deadwood today when he threw.
And there it is.
Game, set, match right there.
Bob Learn is still going to be looking for PBA50 Tour title number 4. Another great finish in this building for Bob.
Yeah, but, you know, when you're making the top 5 the second week in a row, and we got another long pattern next week, which, you know, benefits Bob again, I wouldn't be surprised to see him in the top 5 3 weeks in a row.
A great finish for Learn. McCune going to finish this off. And Michael Haugen Jr. is going to be coming out for some practice shortly.
And he'll be facing Eugene, the hottest hand that we have on the PBA50 Tour. I mean, he's leading the points for the Player of the Year. I mean, he's won, what, 4 tournaments? He won a regional in between.
And a regional before we were in Minnesota.
Yeah, the guy's on fire.
And the crowd appreciative of not just Eugene McCune's finish, but you know they're going to be appreciative of the effort Bob Learn put out here. We'll let Bob finish up his game, and we'll be back with that championship match here for the PBA 50 South Shore Open presented by Hammer.
Eugene. Michael Haugen coming on. He will get 8 shots.
I don't know where mystery juice Michael Haugen just went back to pour right there. Oh, it's some iced tea.
It's iced tea.
It's like, yeah, for as hot as he's been bowling, he needs nothing to cool him down right now. You think he'd just drink warm tea.
I don't think he's going to have a problem. We're going to be naming a pattern after him pretty soon because he's won everything, and he makes them all look easy. That's what's disgusting. You know, well, I shouldn't say that. The first game of this tournament, he shot 158, and he went and drilled 2 balls. He never drills asymmetrical balls with the pin up. He goes because they don't work for him, but he thought outside the box, drilled 2 balls. pin up. One of them's on the rack there. And lo and behold, here he is on the show.
And if you missed it earlier on Extra Frame on FloBowling, great position round match. We gave the radio call on between Haugen and McCune. McCune started out with a string of straights. Haugen started with 3 spares, and then Haugen turned it on to still take the game with a 255 to McCune's 248 and still keep the #1 seed. So, and they always say it's tough to beat somebody twice. That's exactly what Haugen Jr. is going to have to do right here after defeating McCune a little earlier this afternoon.
Using 2 different balls, but now in the title match, he's using pin down stuff because obviously he likes the way it's rolling better.
The difference in roll between that and pin up is how, Tom?
Pin up traditionally for most players goes longer down the lane, stores a little more energy, as we like to say, and you see a little bit more back end movement. Pin down stuff is what we'd like to think a little more controlled. So the back end motion isn't as big, so your moves sometimes aren't as major. So both players bowling for the title, throwing pin down equipment.
Almost a 9 for McCune. You see the sigh of relief as he walks away.
I think he knows he got a break there.
You haven't seen too many of those 9 pins that were the last pin on the lane not fall down.
Well,
they
you
usually
see the
stood
ball.
defiance.
You talk about splitting the 8-9. That's basically what that was. That ball deflected back and barely tipped the 9 and got it out.
Right over the top of that bowling ball.
You got a little surface. I mean, just from the naked eye, from the camera view, looks like about 1,000 on that ball.
He didn't mean to walk that out. The balance at the foul line didn't look great there for McCune, and he just kind of faked it. That's the way. I mean, watch when he gets to the foul line.
He falls off to the right, and typically you don't ever see any of the pros fall off. I mean, they look at Norm. He dead rock posts the shot and stares it down until the ball hits the pins. That ball's got some serious surface on it because that out of the box is shiny. He thought he had it.
And the wrap 10, the bane of another bowler here at Olympia Lanes.
Well, and if you've been watching us over the last couple of weeks, Michael, he never really gives up the pocket. He goes at him, and that's what he does well. And I don't see him attack the lanes anything like Eugene does. Eugene's going right to left, the ball off his hands going right. And then, obviously he's got enough revs to make it turn the corner on the back end. And Michael's, he's pretty much a straight player. I mean, he can play in. Don't get us wrong. I mean, he can play all over the lane. But if he gets to stay to the right, he's pretty deadly.
So Haugen down 21 early. With McCune on the front 3. Tickles it.
Almost.
Something else going to get it? No.
Michael being down in a match, I don't think bothers him because he's been down before. Look at the match that he won against Chris Barnes on the show. He was down 51 with, 5 frames left or 4 frames left, something, and come back to win.
But shouldn't that ball reaction scare him? He goes solid 9, almost pocket 7-10.
When subscribers watch that motion of that ball, you're going to see it and really not pick up a roll till farther down the lane. And I think when it finally picked up the roll, it was too late.
Okay.
Yeah. Gene blowing in the thumb hole, just give you a little moisture to hang onto the ball. A lot of guys do that instead of adding a piece of tape because it's just a little bit easier to keep the ball on your hand.
Front 4, looking for, gets it.
Well, Eugene, at this rate, could win his very first PBA50 title as a non-member.
And you see the banner is above the lanes, but that's for his time on the Go Bowling PBA Tour and the 3 titles he won there.
He beat some, some no names for those 3 titles. He beat Walter Ray Williams, he's won once or twice. A guy by the name of Norm Duke, and for his other title, he beat Pete Weber. So if you're going to win, you might as well beat the best.
That's right. Not scared of any Hall of Famers in this field.
The crowd is definitely behind him, and he's just opening up the lane. I think he knows he's in the driver's seat.
And Haugen Jr. knows there's no time remaining for single pins on his score sheet.
No, he needs to start putting 10 back. This pattern is definitely playing right into Eugene's hand.
Rolled up early on him.
It looked like that ball was a little slower going down lane. You give it way too much time to read the lane condition. And
the speed changes you said this week, it didn't take much to get a whole different reaction.
No, and now you got two guys attacking the lane at totally different angles.
Spares are usually fine, but not at the scoring pace this championship match is going at.
The speed on this pattern, I think, a lot of people think, oh, man, there's 46 feet, I got to throw it slower to get it to hook. And believe it or not, that was actually kind of the wrong thing to do. You didn't want to really throw it hard because nobody on the senior tour really does throw it hard. But you didn't want to try to overthrow the ball. It still had to pick up. You watch that shot again and watch that ball roll. It doesn't look like it's picking up a roll at all until it gets to 45 feet. I mean, it almost looks like it's loping. Then it finally picks up right there, but it's too late.
Yeah, it's just all of a sudden it's gone from 9-pin high to pocket 7-10 light to whiffing the head pin and now an open.
And I don't want to say it's over, but with Eugene's look, and with the way Eugene is playing the lane, he could be pushing a little bit of conditioner right to that break point, just enough that Michael's ball is stalling before it gets to the pocket.
222 the maximum now for Haugen. And no longer pacing 300 for McCune.
Eugene is playing them like everybody played them in games 6, 7, and 8. And definitely 7 and 8. They were in and only taking it to like 12 down lane.
I think he just exceeded the speed limit on Calumet Avenue outside the bowling center with that spare shot.
Yeah, that ball didn't have time to hook. I think between him and Oskew, there could be a throwing contest.
Not just for speed. Can you imagine if they decided to loft it, the distance they could get?
Those guys are strong.
Yes.
Eugene's a strong boy.
Back on track.
Yeah, he's taking a walk in the park now. It's a 57-pin difference with 4 frames left. Unless the fire alarm goes off, I don't think that Eugene is going to lose this match. This has got to be a little bit of a shock to the system for Michael because he's been in such control over the last month, out here. He just seems to be walking through patterns like it's nothing.
Yeah, the work ethic's not going to change going into Kokomo, as that event will start here on Extra Frame.
So now he's making a ball change. He's going to a pin up. The stuff that he said he would never do. So there has to be a thought process here. I got to get a different look on the lane. And see how, when that ball got to the back of the lane, it just took off. He's just not playing them deep enough. The guys before him have wore out the track area, and Eugene's in the right area. He's just got a shot all to himself.
Yep. And when we had Haugen in the booth yesterday, he talked about, coming into a tournament like this, if you're top seed, you have to win it twice. And unfortunately, in this case, for Haugen Jr., second place is going to be on the resume, but still a nice advantage in the Bowler of the Year standings.
Yeah, I would take, his all of his wins and how he's finishing, even with a second.
A little easier for McCune to smile about that 9-pin than maybe it would have been earlier in the match.
Yeah, if it had cost him the match, he wouldn't have been smiling.
And
he's got a possible 259 to Haugen's 202.
Last time we saw McCune in a championship round was back in 2012, taking that Cheetah Open title from Pete Weber. This makes 3 for 3 in championship round appearances in the 2010s for McCune.
Well, he's obviously not scared to win. You know, he hasn't lost that eye of the tiger type thing. He's making a look. Now it's just going through the motions. Even that shot there looked a little more relaxed, a little more balanced at the line.
And I'm sure a little friendly comparison of notes right now that the match is pretty much complete. And hey, what did you know?
There was the handshake, and
yeah.
it's over because the best he can shoot's 202. So Mike's going through the motions and going, I got to get some deadwood out of there.
Oh, the 2-finger backflip. Deadwood clear. That's a John Weber clarifying.
Yeah, that didn't count. You know, for everybody out there, when we have deadwood in the flat gutter, which means not on the shaker bed, and it's right there, it has to be removed. We can't throw a shot just for the fact that a pin could hit it and get a little extra carry.
It can make that 6-pin come right out of the flat gutter, take out that 10 for an advantage. Of course, Haugen would have liked to shoot with it right there because he could use all the help he could get, but unless he gets a few more frames, no way he's going to be catching up.
Unless he's in a 15-frame game, this is not going to work. But it's been a great overall month for Mike. He can't complain because he's taken a good check out of this. He's had a good run for the last month. And we're, like I said, we're building on a 44-foot pattern next week, and I'm quite sure that he's going to be in the top again. It's always amazing when you're out of it how easy the pins fall. They know. I swear to God, they know. They know if your hand's squeezing.
It's kind of like the extra frame fill ball percentage, certified at 92.2%, even with the changeover to extra frame on FloBowling. It's been pretty amazing.
Both of them just they're going to get up and go right through it right now. Eugene just going through the motions to finish this off because he knows that he is the winner of this event, the South Shore Open here in Hammond, Indiana. Craig Elliott will be going down lane side to be giving Eugene an interview. It'll be coming up in just a few minutes. We're going to sit here and watch the remaining shot and a half that we have to finish off this match. Folks, we will be in Kokomo, Indiana next week. Dave Small's Heritage Lanes. Congratulations to Eugene McCune on his first PBA 50 title here in Hammond, Indiana.
Again, congratulations to both players. Michael Haugen, congratulations to you. Phil Brilo with extra frame on FloBowling. There you go, Phil. Thank you.
Appreciate it, John Weber, and we appreciate everybody here in Hammond. And Eugene, the home field advantage once in a while pays off, and I think it did for you this week.
Well, to tell you the truth, the lanes play just like Tuesday night majors here. I mean, we got a modified shark pattern, and it plays exactly like this. It's a challenging shot, but it's basically the same shot.
I've never seen a crowd turn so quickly in my life. But Hey, keeping the perfect record, though, in the championship rounds in the 2010s. Last 2 times you're on the PBA Tour, won in the championship round, kept the streak going here today. And it had to be tough to do against the hottest guy on the PBA50 Tour, Michael Haugen Jr.
Mike spanked my butt twice today, so I mean I shot 210 and 240. I wasn't close, and Mike's been bowling great. So it's just a shocker that he didn't come out here and shoot 270. I thought I had to shoot 270 to win.
And lots of friends in the crowd, lots of family. Anything you want to say to the crowd here at Olympia Lanes?
It's always nice when somebody claps. Usually it's a pin in the background, but thank God you guys were all excited and we put on a good show. Hopefully you guys enjoyed yourself.
And you're the second non-member this year to win a title on the PBA50 Tour. Warren Eels joined after he won. Are we going to see you back in a PBA membership anytime soon?
I might bowl Grand Rapids as a non-member, but I got to work at Legends Pro Shop in Linwood, Illinois.
Gotta love a good plug. What's the phone number while we're at it?
Well, it's my cell phone, so.
Oh, okay. Well, forget the phone number, but we can't forget what a great performance tonight on Extra Frame on FloBowling. Congratulations to our champion, Eugene McCune.
Okay, stick around one. I thought, yeah, Eugene wants to